Welcome to the recording of Chapter 5 of Zensuon Crystal Age. The Blood Thickens. Where a divine message is sent to an unlikely creature, and we find out something more about folks and their kin. Gurug awoke from his trance. He picked up his staff and cleaned his ceremonial dagger from the deer's blood in Red River, the river separating their territory, their lifeblood, and the voice of the earth. If the rustle of the leaves, waves of the stream, and thought of the earth beneath one's feet could be called a spirit's murmur, today it was more like a shout. The spirits spoke clearly. Ring! Speak clearly still. So much that the shaman felt them thinking words purple for him. Gurug panic. Make! This has not happened before. It was as if they commanded him to think, oh, these words. He would have to run to the chieftain and explain all of this. And even with his esteemed position, it is uncertain he'd be able to catch his attention with the border seeing so many skirmishes of late. He took a risk even coming here, but he'd be damned by the spirits. Bring! If he allowed the ritual to be disturbed by those elves. Elves, also known in the singular elf, are slender, pointed-eared, and long-lived. They compare themselves to trees, living amongst nature and guarding Seranur, the world itself, from harm. Others usually see them more like twigs, fearing to be broken if they step outside their forests. He put a hand over Tusk, and the large boar huffed in response. He climbed on top of him and held onto his leather-strapped reins. Assault! Purple! Tusk pulled out his face from the ground and mushed out from the small patch of forest and onto the plain, where the heart of their tribe's territory lies. He passed the border encampment. The guard by the wooden gate, make, waved to him as he rode past. After an hour's ride into the territory, past patrols and hunting groups, he had, gotten used to the words still echoing in his head. They felt like returning suddenly to an unpleasant memory, but he could swiftly ignore the aggravating feeling and wait by distracting Bring himself. From a distance he saw it, the large wooden wall, made of tree trunks dug into the earth around a large hill, surrounded the many wooden purple huts, tents, and a grand chieftain's hut on the top of its make hole. He stopped at the gate, facing the two guards. Strongest! Guru grunted, pointing to the hill where their chief's hut stood. No! One of the guards grunted back, huffing through his tusks and folding his arms to show that the chief is busy or that no one should disturb him. Gurug looked angry, gritting sharp teeth through his smaller tusk. He jumped off of Tusk, walked over to the guard, and clarified why he arrived. Yes! Gurug pulled himself back, then pushed forward with the as he headbutted the guard. The guard recoiled and shook his head, red blood leaking from his nose. He stood up, put both hands on Gurug's arms, and he himself went for a head bash. Instead of preparing for the strike, moving back, resisting, or any of that, Gurug spoke back to the spirit, still ring, echoing through his head. And when the headbutt came with a vengeance. Funk! The guard fell back, groaning. The other one, silent up to now, gasped, eyes widened as he watched Gurug. Gurug's facial features were sharp, dual purple, gray, and hard. His face was stone. Gurug has put up this spell back when he was make during the ritual by Red River. The last thing he'd want is to give those elven archers the pleasure of killing him. Strong! The other guard praised Gurug and bowed his head. Gurug grunted and moved on to Tusk, then rode in. Whole! Upon the dirt road that cut through the camp, he rode, moving past the various other preparing for more battles that were sure to come. Riding all the way up to the end of the road, to the top of the hill where the chief was. He stopped Tusk in front of the biggest hut and started going up the stone steps. At the top, he saw One Eye, cloaked in the dark gray-green, tattered clothes of all the elven assassins he killed. Guruk stopped, staring into One Eye. One Eye stared back into one of Gurug's eyes. After a few moments of staring, One Eye opened the door behind him. It was large, wooden, and crude, and led to one big room cluttered with various belts, weapons, roughly made furniture, and the chief sitting down amidst all of it, cutting a piece of wood into a club. Guruk closed the door behind him. The chieftain turned, standing up. He towered over Guruk, and unlike the others, he wasn't brown, with some greenish tint either. He was gray like stone. The chief sprinting toward Guruk, charging at him, and punched him straight in the chest. Guruk's stony flesh muffled the strike as it came, but he could still feel the aftershock vibrating through him, nearly making him buckle. Chief grinned through a mouth filled with sharp teeth. As Guruk pulled back his arm and thrust it at his chest to a dry even turning his fist to a stone on strike did little to face the chief, and Guruk grunted as they finished their proper greetings. Weak! Guruk jerked his thumb back toward the door. Chief glanced toward the direction, and Guruk in turn spun in place and threw the window pointing down the hill toward the gate. The chief grunted, realizing he was talking about the guards. Strong! Glory! The chieftain explained, and Guruk grunted in turn. There was a lot of infighting amongst the tribes and outfighting against the elves. Guruk lamented, so it would stand to reason that the old guards might die, though to send the old guards out to fight, the tribe must be really desperate. Let us stop deliberating in the orc tongue and move to speaking firstly. The chief began, and Guruk nodded. Orc tongue. While one would expect languages to be called as a shortening of the people who speak them, for example, Thraskian after the old Empire of Thrask, orcs don't usually care how their language is called, by them or others. So while orcologists agree that Orcish is the easiest to pronounce, some argue that it should be called Orkin, Orcan, or even Gruntish. To Guruk this was of little concern. The spirits could decipher all languages of the living, and in his ear translate the meaning of all tongues, as well as speak back the words he chose through him. He was not self-taught in those strange rectangles as the chief was, and had on his shelf, made of that thin material with scribbles in them, that without the aid of the spirits would make little sense. Very well, chief, Guru grunted instinctively to end the sentence. You can take the language out of the orc, but not the orc out of the language. I did not summon you. Speak, and hope it is important to me, the chief said and stood too close for comfort. Or perhaps it was just Guruk, suddenly feeling the immense presence of the grey orc towering over him. Guruk weakly grunted. The spirits have spoken to me, Guruk explained. Of victory? The chieftain interjected, with his nostril flaring. He remembered all too well. This was not the first time Guruk promised victory by engrossing the entire tribe in strange rituals to the spirits. And while they haven't lost yet in those skirmishes, the heavy losses they took were enough to bump Guruk from a special position to an endangered position. No, they spoke of something, Guruk began, and the chief ended. Speak! The chief shouted. Guruk gulped. Bring purple, make whole.